Hello everybody and welcome to a new video. This video is our third video in the Mechanics Explained guide, so if you've not seen the other two, go ahead and have a look at them. They explain the seasons and the crafting in the game, and this video is then going to focus on the open world materials and resources, how to get to the open world, what to do there, how to gather materials there, how to bring them back and refine them into other materials, how to then use their materials to craft things like siege engines, and finally some of the materials that are really good at selling on the market. So the first thing we're going to look at then in this video is the open world and how to get there and what to do there. So every fief will have a watchman inside of it. This watchman, when you interact with him, will prompt you to leave the fief. If you just click on that, you'll be given a screen that lets you choose your units and your artillery. So let's analyze this screen then and see what's on it. We can see at the top right we have a food and capacity values. The food value is essentially the thing that makes you stop being in there forever. So this food will go down in neutral and enemy territory. When this value reaches 0, you can no longer attack or gather any resources. You can replenish your food at any fief, and you can also get it from anything that's in your cart already. Any of your capacity will be taken up by any of the siege engines you bring, so this is how you bring any siege engines or equipment you want. You can bring it from your supply and then tote it over like this. You can then see that I have the 2 war rockets and the 3 arrow launchers with me on this journey, and it's taking up the capacity like so. I can put these back in and then my capacity goes back to 0. So the capacity also counts for any resources that you are having currently on you. So if you go out and gather, this capacity will fill up. So if you're just going on a gathering run, you don't want to bring any of the artillery that's going to be taking up this capacity. So on the bottom right then, we have a few values here. These values will determine how efficient you are in the open world. So the troop speed speaks for itself. It determines how fast you can move around in the open world. As you can see, because I have no units and it's just my hero, we are extremely fast at a 6.50 value. And we have no labour because no troops are going to be gathering anything for us. The labour value is how much materials you'll gather at any given time. So let's have a look at some compositions to see how these are manipulated. If we were to take in a full set of cavalry, you can see that our labour is 7.59, but we are very quick at a 4.80 movement speed. We could also see that our food gets exhausted more because we are bringing more units in with us. If I was to change this build, and we go for a resource gathering build, we can see that our movement speed is not great. It's 3.5 because they're just walking. And then we have a really good labor score of 62. This means that this is a very efficient gathering build, but not a very good build at moving around. So we are now in the open world with our party, and we can see that the screen has changed slightly. We see at the bottom our food counter. If you hover over it, it will determine what happens when your food reaches a certain level. You can see your wagon here, which will tell you what you have currently on you. If you pick any items up, it will show here. Your encampment num, so if you want to pitch camp, this will happen if you need to go into a siege battle. You'll pitch a camp and then you'll be able to go into the battles. Your return to camp then will automatically take you to wherever your camp or your home is. So if you want to go to Conk City, we can click this button and it will take us there. This next button down here then is the units. So this is for your inner group. You can see all of the group's units here and any of the artillery they have brought with them. We can then have field camps. This is a house specific thing, so I'm not going to go into it too much, but essentially any of the leadership in the house will make use of this button. And then we have something called Force March, which increases your speed by 50% in any territory, but also makes your food go down quicker. But as I said before, if we are in friendly territory, so anything that is green or blue, you can then move without any food consumption, as shown right now. We are Force March, which means we are quicker, but because we are in friendly territory, we are not consuming any food. So in the open world then, you will find a few things dotted around the map. You'll find a load of rebels. If you are in the starting area, they all spawn around this area. These rebels you can then attack for seasonal challenges and or fun. These rebels are not the easiest. If you hover over them, they say hard. If you've got good units, you can take them on. If not, I would suggest go into groups and take them on together. And we can also see, if I pan over this way, we have some abandoned hearts and derelict ruins that we can then go and interact with. When you interact with one of these, you'll get a random reward. These count for seasonal challenges as well. Sometimes you'll be told to go loot some treasures in the open world, and you can loot these and they will just randomly spawn around you. They are specific to your client, so this guy will not be able to see this one. Only I can see this, so you can't point them out to your friends, unfortunately, and show them where to go. But the rebels, they are global, so everyone can see them as well. So the next thing we're going to look at then are the resources and the nodes. So if we focus on the region I'm currently in then, if we zoom in, we can see all the different colours. All the different colours are the different houses that own that particular territory. This will mainly change each week depending on how the territory war goes. And then you can see that if we zoom in one more time, we start to see all the resource nodes. So the logo of the node then represents what type of resource it is. So we can see the iron mine and the copper mine have different logos, as well as the farm, the quarries, and then any of the cow or horse pastures as well will have different ones, as well as the cotton fields. They will also have a colour attached to them, the colour being the rarity of the resource. This colour will reset when these timers finish. So after the resource has been depleted, it starts a timer. When this timer finishes, it may or may not change colour. So if this is green currently, after this 4 hours and 2 minutes timer is up, it may change to purple or it may downgrade to white. So that just keeps every resource fresh, and it doesn't mean that one house just controls all the best resources. So just remember, if you have a particular resource in your area, or you're used to gathering one particular resource, when that resource is depleted, it might change colour. It's not you, it's just how the game works. So then if we look at the resources, I'm over in Zatel. We have currently 3 resources. We have a marble quarry, a limestone quarry, and a logging camp. The logging camp is out of resources. And now let's go and look at what happens when we go over to one. So I am by this marble quarry here, as you can see. If I click on this, I am then prompted with a screen. Because this resource is of blue rarity, we can see that we'll be gathering the blue materials with a possibility to get some exotics as well. On this screen then, you'll also see your labour, how many yields you have. This yield is also determined by friendly or neutral territory, or if it's your own territory. So this is currently owned by our allies, so we have a 2 yield on it. If this was a neutral, we would have a 1 yield on it, and if it was our own, we would have a 3 yield on it, meaning that I can gather this resource twice today. We have a tariff, so this is how much it costs us to gather from this. This is then what the house in control can set this tariff value. And then we have requisition orders. These are ways of just gathering it when your yields run out. So I click on gather, and then it starts a timer. This timer then ticks down, and as it does, we are getting the resources, as you can see in the top right. The amount of resources we get per node is dependent on our labor again, so because we have pretty high labor, we'll have quite a lot. Okay, so that's now done then. We have the prompt telling us that it has been gathered and it has been loaded onto our wagon. We can see behind our party now that there is a wagon, meaning that we have something in our inventory. We can see that these are the resources that we have then gathered, and we can take these back to our camp if we walk back there and deposit it in our supplies. So as you can see, this is our supply dump. It's currently at Conqueror City. This is what's in our wagon. As you can see, it's taken up some of the resources here. Because we've gathered a lot, it is taking up quite a lot, meaning that you're going to want to travel back and forth a few times if you want to get use out of your daily yields. Right, so you've gathered the resources that you want to gather and you've brought them back, and now you're at your camp. So there's a few things you can do with them now, but the first thing you need to do is transfer them from your wagon. So this does not happen automatically. You'll have to do this on your own. You can do this by opening your supplies tab, going on your wagon, and then just clicking them over like so. You'll have a capacity for your supply dump. This can be increased as well. And then what can you do with them? The first thing you can do with them is use them to complete Fief Quests. So as you can see, all these different Fief Quests can require different materials from the open world. As you can see, I've done a couple of them already today. And then if you want to level up the Fief, so if I go to overview here, you can see that these building materials will count to its level. So when it reaches a certain amount of building materials, it can be leveled up. This is the capital, so it's quite a high level. And these ones are done by the ones that show the building materials just here. So if you're looking to level up a Fief, if you want your house to level up your Fiefs very quickly, you want people to be doing the ones with the building materials. Some of them do not have them, some of them do have plenty of them. So as you can see, these ones have 10. There is some that give 80, 60, 10, and then 0 as well. Remember that you can only do 20 Fief Quests a week as well, guys, so make sure you're picking which ones you're doing carefully. If you are trying to level up a Fief, make sure you are making use of how many you need to do each week, and make sure you're getting the maximum amount of construction ones possible. So then some of these quests will be using the raw materials that you have gathered, so you can gather them and then hand them in straight away. But then others will require refined materials. So let's go look at how to refine our materials that we gather in the open world. So in each Fief then there will be a refinery overseer, and you can talk to this guy to refine your normal raw materials into better refined materials as seen here. So you can just do this by clicking on this and then adding the value of how many you want. So if I want 110 of these, this will cost silver to do, and then it will do that for me. This can take a bit of time. If you're doing a large amount of resources, you can leave the screen and it will tell you when it is finished. So the first thing we can do with our materials then is go to the unit armorer and make some kits. I would not recommend doing any of these as it costs silver to do this, whereas the kits are brought with bronze, and these are quite cheap kits to buy with bronze comparison to making them with silver. But this is something that you can do, so it's here. It will cost you refined materials to make them the same way that you would refine your materials. So one thing you can do then is when you're looking at a kit as well, if you are making the kits, you can sell them on the market. So if you can see here, someone's selling 2 kits for 800, so they're 400 silver each. So this can be a profitable way of doing that if you corner the market and or you find a certain kit that sells well on there. That's the only reason I would craft them. The second thing then you can do is go to the gunsmith and create some green artillery with these materials. Again, you can use the materials to make some artillery. This will cost silver, but also this is a very good way to get some nice cheap artillery, especially culverins that you can use to shoot down some siege towers as well. So on that note then, we've then refined our materials. I would not recommend using them to create kits or artillery, but they are an option that you can do. The reason I say that is because if I go to units and go to one of my blue units that is running out of a kit, we can see that the bronze cost isn't that expensive for the kits, as well as the artillery you can get from these artillery fragments just here, and you can make them and get the box with them in, and you just get rewards from doing other things that give you more artillery than you'll use in your battles. So then why would you need to refine your materials? Well, you can also sell the materials on the market to generate yourself some silver. So if you press V or come to this merchant right here in any fief or city, you can see that this has a market. If you go to resources, we can see the market right here. So the resources tab, these are the raw materials that are gathered from the open world. And then if we go towards the materials, these are the materials that you can then refine. This is what other players will buy. using their silver. So if I wanted to buy this whole 1,252, it could give me 11,000 silver to buy it at a price of 8.99 per item. So this is one way of generating silver then. And how do you know which resources to sell? Well, the best resources to sell are always the ones that people need to do Fief Quests. So let's head over back to the Warden. So we're at the Warden again, and we can see our Fief overview. And we can see when we're looking at the Fief Quests, we have a market symbol right here. So a lot of people will not go and gather these in the open world. They will simply just search the market for this simple item and then buy it from other players. As you can see, the raw materials are quite cheap to sell at a 0.03 unit price currently, but then some of the Fief Quests will require the refined materials. So as you can see, this particular Fief Quest is 300 wood to do, and I currently have 1,363. So I could essentially do 4 of these quests over and over again, or I could sell in batches of 300 or 600, meaning that players can do the quest the one time. So here we can see 300. This will generate me 1,300 silver if someone was to purchase this item. So this just means that people can buy only what they need, and then therefore you can sell 300 at a time instead of selling thousands where people do not want to spend the actual total price of it. So it's how much you will set becomes how much the total price will be. So let's just try that now. So if I wanted to make a listing in the selling, then you can see that we're at the wood that we were looking at earlier. If I wanted to sell this, I could sell the whole lot of it for a set amount of silver. So it's saying to me I should sell this for 6,000 or 1,300. But this is a terrible idea. You don't want to sell it all at once. You're better doing it in batches, so you can do the 300 at a time, or you can do the 600 at a time. Obviously try and make your prices competitive, so then people are more likely to buy yours. And this is how you would then generate your silver weekly from them resources. The best resources to do this with is the horses, as they have a high selling value, but also they have a low amount of cost for the quest. So some of them will cost 8 horses per quest. But yeah, if we were to sell 8 of these, you can see it can generate us up to 4,200 silver. There is a tax that is attached to this as well. And if you were to sell this for 4,200, you'll see that it will also cost me some bronze to do this. So that's everything for this video then, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We have given you a rundown of the basics of the open world and the resources, how to gather them, how to bring them back and refine them, and also what to do with them when you bring them back, such as sell them or use them for Fief Quests. If you like this video, guys, leave a like. It helps others find the video if they need this information. And also keep your eye out for the next videos in the Mechanics Explained series, and go back and watch the others if you haven't already. But thank you so much for watching, guys. Bye bye!